What's up, listeners? I mentioned a few weeks ago that I would be reviewing a few of the Oscar-nominated films, but unfortunately, I didn't have time to get it done. So as a result, I'd like to direct you to Pop Culture Happy Hour's 2025 Oscar Guide. PCHH is a show I'm frequently a guest on and have been a fan of for nearly 13 years, so I trust their judgment when it comes to breaking down the nominees this year. By the time you're hearing this, you'll already know the winners as well, but if you want that deep analysis, check the link in our show notes. For today's episode, we're covering Love Hurts. I'm Ronald Young Jr., and I'm leaving the theater. All right, this is Ronald, and I am leaving the theater after seeing Love Hurts. Love Hurts, written by Matthew Murray, Josh Stoffard, and Luke Passmore, directed by Jonathan Eusebio, starring Quan, Ariana DuBose, Daniel Wu, Marshawn Lynch, Mustafa Shakir, Tipton, Rhys Darby, Gigandet, and Drew Scott. And per usual, for a complete cast listing, you can go to the link in our show notes. It is just me today, and you can probably hear some sort of rumbling deep in the background. It is likely either the train passing by or the wind outside. I'm in my car because it is windy out here today. It is President's Day, but you won't be hearing this until next week. So today it's President's Day when I'm watching this, but you won't hear it until the week after President's Day. I hope you all had a great holiday. Hope things are going as well as they can for you right now. I know things are weird, to say the least, right now, but still going to the movie, still feel that bit of escapism. This movie, Love Hurts, is about a former assassin named Marvin, who is now turned real estate agent. This is Quan. He's dragged out of retirement into his former life by a woman named Rose, played by Ariana DuBose, and they have to essentially accomplish a mission in order to get their air quote lives back, because this is all a sham. They're not really living. They're kind of hiding, whatevs. This movie, the preview, I saw it and I immediately was like, I'm not interested. But this is the time of the year where there's not a lot of movies to see, and I'm filling the docket for leaving the theater. So I walked in this one with low expectations, only to have them not met. So I there was a possibility I could have left this one pleasantly surprised, and I did not. There's a lot to Marshawn Lynch is in this movie, so there's a lot of stuff going on. It's almost like a B-list all-star cast, if you will, and that's not to talk trash about Quan or Ariana DuBose, both are who decorated and accomplished actors. But it was kind of just, this movie was nothing. This movie was absolutely nothing. This movie felt like, back in the day, my sister and I had to stay at home all day because, in the summers, because my parents were not like sending us to any summer programs. And they weren't sending us to any summer programs. So they had to sit at the house, but then they said, you can't watch TV. They wouldn't let us watch TV. And then they were like, we just had to kind of like occupy our time without watching TV, sitting at a house all day long. It sucked. Like, we hated it. And now as an adult, I know it had to do with them like not wanting to pay to put us in like after school programs or summer programs or anything like that. When they had the money, they would do it. But if they didn't, we were just sitting at the house all day. And the thing was, it would kind of set us up for failure because they'd be like, don't be watching TV. And then we'd watch TV because it's like, yo, there's literally nothing to do here. We wouldn't go outside, any of that stuff. So we'd watch TV, and when we'd obviously watch HBO and see what they had going on over there. We didn't watch scary movies or anything like that. But sometimes we just see fascinating things that came on. And every now and then we'd catch a movie that was like a sequel to another movie that we had not seen, but because we had no reference for it, we just watched it anyway. And we were just like, oh, I don't know, what is this? Whatever, we'll watch it. Oh, it's Ghostbusters 2. I guess there were some Ghostbusters in the first one. We'll just watch it. You know what I mean? This movie is very much a sequel to a first movie that does not exist. And it is a bad sequel to a first movie that I'm like, might have been better. And to be clear, I'm telling y'all, it's not actually a sequel, but it pretends like it's a sequel. It does a bad job of what it's actually trying to accomplish, which is introduce us to a character that we know and love with a dark past. John Wick technically does this. It's like, hey, there's a whole other world in which I am the Baba Yaga, but y'all only met me as a guy who's grieving his wife and dog. You know what I mean? So it's easy for us to get behind this person, and we can watch the action that's in front of us. In this one, there's so little character development, and it's such a short film, coming in at an hour and 23 minutes, not even a tight 90, a very, like, even less than tight, less than 90, if you will. And in watching it, I'm just not engaged in what anyone's doing. At some point, there's buddy dynamics between several different pairs of people, and none of them are the main pair. And so I'm forced to kind of watch these interactions between all of these people, but I don't care about any of them, which makes it makes it tough. There's a movie that came out in 2010 starring Bruce Willis that was called Red. Red standing for Retired Extremely Dangerous. In it, Bruce Willis is the main character, and he, like Quan, is dragged back into his old life after wanting to stay retired in a very specific way. There's a love story at the center of it. It's a very good movie, and it even came out with a sequel, Red 2, in 2013. The reason why I'm pointing this out is because this could have been that, but it's instead, it kind of just flails around for an hour and 23 minutes and tries to convince me that when we get to the big final boss battle between Quan and essentially his brother, who is like the physical and physical embodiment of his past, by the time we get to that part, I'm not really engaged in whatever they're doing. I'm like, I don't really care about this. Can we just go ahead and end the movie? There's something to be said about, because there's so little character work done with any of these characters, like even the stuff that's supposed to be funny, I wasn't laughing at. Like it didn't feel funny. Marshawn Lynch, bless his heart for getting into acting, continuing his journey into acting. It seems like he has gotten better at reading exactly what's on the page. But the problem is it's poorly written. So when he delivers it, he delivers something as an amateur actor. Well, he's a professional now, technically, but he delivers something maybe not having the craft of others, while also it not being something that really jumps off the page to begin with. So it makes it even tougher to like watch, because it's like, I'm not that interested in watching this. I'm not interested in watching him or this relationship or any of this. It's just not working. The film just doesn't work from beginning to end. I don't hate it, you know what I mean? But I would never watch this again. If it were on streaming, it would be easier to forget, but I actually had to leave the house to watch this. And I don't know what streaming service it's going to end up on. But it will end up on a streaming service soon. And I can tell you, this is something you could throw on in the background and probably know what's happening towards the end without actually checking in. There's no twists. It's straight up from beginning to end. Everything that happens in the preview is already kind of like, if you know what's happening in the preview, then you already have a good sense of what the whole movie is about. And I sensed that from watching the preview, which is why I was not interested in seeing this movie to begin with. But again, this is what I do because I love making this podcast and I love watching movies, and it was a good escape for an hour and 23 minutes. I was able to think about something that wasn't like our lives right now, because every time an episode comes out, I don't know what news of the day has happened to you or to anyone else around you. So I mean, acting was fine. I don't think this is going to tank anybody's career. I don't think that the writers or directors, or they might not get new opportunities from this. I could see that. But overall, just I didn't have a great time watching this. It was escapism only. It wasn't sad. It wasn't like I just went to watch the Oscar nominated shorts, animated and live action. That did not feel like escapism. They were dramatizing things that are actually happening in our lives. Whereas this one was something that is just way out of left field. And that feels good to watch in that sense. But other than that, it's just not well executed. I will say the physicality of Quan, it's weird because he is Vietnamese. Jackie Chan is Chinese, and to make this comparison might seem like, come on, Ronald, you compare to Asian folks. But I'm telling y'all, if you grew up with Jackie Chan movies and you watch the physicality of Quan and his face, he has a lot of Jackie Chan like mannerisms, especially in the oh no, I'm sorry to do this, and he's like beating up the person. It's very much that throughout this movie, which is kind of enjoyable. But again, it's not, there's nothing in here that I saw where I'm just like, oh man, I gotta watch that scene again. And I feel like that's happened a lot recently. Like by now you will have already heard, if you listened, you already heard my review of Captain America, where it was just like, there was nothing in there that was like, oh, so cool, gotta watch that again. That doesn't happen here. There's other movies that I would much rather watch for a second time, rather than this one or Captain America for that matter. So with all of that being said, I think this movie is a 2 of 5 stars. I do not want to watch it again. I don't think there's enough redemptive qualities about it to bring it out of the 2 range, but it's not like I don't despise it. I don't, it's a movie, you know what I mean? It's a solid B movie, but that still makes it a 2 because, I mean, it's a B movie, and it's at best it could have been a very good B movie. Would have put it at maybe a 3.5, but it's not a good B movie, which puts it at a 2. This is something that we're going to forget about in all of these folks' careers, in a time in which we forget about movies. Remember Oppenheimer? Like, we forget about movies, you know what I mean? And I mean, Oppenheimer's a good movie that won a lot of awards, but like, our attention spans move on very quickly. It's like, all right, let's get to that next thing. What are we doing? We're not going to keep watching this thing. So in a world in which we forget about things quickly, do not be a forgettable movie like Love Hurts. And with that, Leaving the Theater is a production of Oh, It's Big Ron Studios. I mixed this episode, and per usual, it's me on the grind, out here buying tickets to movies, going out here in the wind to watch them, to give you a review. Even at times when I don't enjoy them, I'm still doing the job that I want to do, and you're still enjoying it. And if that means something to you and you have not become a Patreon member yet, join the Patreon. Go to patreon.com/leavingtheater or go to the link in our show notes. Show art from Heather Wilder. Theme music by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. For more information about Love Hurts, check out our show notes. You can follow me on Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, or Letterboxd at Oh It's Big Ron. That's at OHITSBIGRON. You can find out more about this show and other Oh It's Big Ron Studio shows by following us on Instagram at Oh It's Big Ron Studios. Leaving the Theater will be back soon. Thanks for listening.